All right, I believe we are live. Hey, welcome T-Ballers to our Clubhouse group. As you may have noticed, we have changed from Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time to Tuesdays at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. And if you would like to join in live on the conversation, you can actually go to the link that I've put in the description to Clubhouse, and you can join our house. We'll bring you up on the stage, and you can talk to us in person. But if not, you're welcome to send us messages in the chat. But today we are going to talk about sleep, which is something that I think everybody needs good sleep. It's actually really healthy for us to have good sleep. So we're going to talk about all things sleep related, sleep, insomnia, an app that may be helpful, all that kind of stuff. But alrighty, so let's get started.
Well, personally, I've had sleep problems off and on for years. I think most people do. If you're one of those lucky people out there that never ever has sleep problems, well, gosh, good for you. But I find my history of sleep problems have been related to traumas that I've gone through. When my dad was killed, I think was the most difficult. When there's been job changes, I used to travel as a consultant, and I had to do a reset when I stopped doing that. And then lifestyle. I find that a lot of my sleep difficulties relate back to lifestyle. And by the way, we're streaming this through Twitter today. I've been on a recent little bit of a Twitter debate, and this is not about that debate because I think that debate was about trauma and grounding. And by the way, if you're looking for a great use for grounding, for sleep would be one of the best. My argument on the grounding thing is that grounding can be used for avoidance. Grounding is great, but not when used for avoidance. There's all kinds of things in life that are great, but not when used for avoidance. But when it comes to sleep, I think that's a great thing, and maybe we can talk about that. And we'll also go through the CBT-I coach. We're not an affiliate. It's just an app on my phone that I think is could be useful. You guys can judge that for yourself. I think it has some weaknesses. But getting started off, what are some of you guys your struggles with sleep? Because we're only here for about 20 minutes. We've got a lot to pack in a short amount of time.
Well, I'm actually currently in the process. So I had my second sleep study last Wednesday, the one where they, try the different masks and everything like that. So I'm in the process of working on getting either a CPAP or an APAP to maybe help me sleep better because I have a tendency to stop breathing in my sleep. I'm not a snorer, but I'll wake up and I'll be gasping for air. And no matter how many hours of sleep I get, I tend to always wake up just as tired as I was when I went to bed. So that's a good rule of thumb, as we always try to say, rule out the medical as well. I'm working on that currently.
Yeah, I think that's so important. If you are listening and you go to a clinician, and this is going to be up on YouTube also, so that there's a replay. But one of the first things your clinician should do is rule out the physiological. There may be a psychological component, but it's just a standard of practice to check out the medical. And often when it comes to sleep, there could be some type of obstructive sleep apnea that needs to be taken care of. Personally, I've used a CPAP for, I think it's probably going on 18 years now. I think I've used a CPAP, and to me it's almost like a sleeping pill. I use zero sleep medications. I do take melatonin and we'll talk about supplements in a little bit. And we are not MDs. No. My PhD is in neuropsychology and forensic psychology. All of my colleagues here are licensed mental health practitioners, LMHPs, and you should check out with your primary care physician, your PCP,
Definitely,
before adding any supplement, even if it's over the counter, even if it's from Amazon. Not all PCPs are educated about supplements. I kind of have an affinity for DOs. They tend to be a bit more holistic, But a lot of my colleagues are MDs, and that's great too. But there's supplements out there that can help. What are some of your experiences with sleep difficulty?
I had difficulty with sleep for a long time too, and I had the wrong idea, the incorrect idea that sleep studies were a how could I say it, like a luxury.
Oh,
Like in other words, it's
yes,
something.
breathing while sleeping is a luxury. It's one I highly recommend.
And since I didn't, at the time, all the time, I didn't snore a lot or a lot of the things that you think about sleep apnea, I never considered it. But when I did go and get my sleep studies done, sure enough, I was 1 point away from severe in my
Wow.
in my apneas. They were mostly hypopneas, lots of hypopneas. And then it made sense to me because, Dr. Heath talked about the traumas because of past traumas at night with the re-experiencing and all, breathing shallow, holding my breath. I discovered during the sleep study that I would hold my breath at night with hypervigilance to listen, to know what was going on around
Of
me.
course,
I
because
never realized I
you
was
think in
doing
that situation you're in danger,
Yeah.
and that your brain's just going to do that. The brain is wired to do many, many wonderful things. The brain can play basketball or golf. It can shoot arrows. It can knit, crochet. It can play the piano or any musical instruments, or you can learn how to play that. But the number one default mode of the brain is to safety. Always, always to safety, or you would just die. And so during sleep, when the world around you quietens down, as it did for me daily, gosh, I guess this lasted for maybe a year and a half. When the working out was over, which I was doing regularly, when the running was over, which I did regularly, when a full day of patients had been sifted through and that was over, it was just me and my thoughts and the tragedy, terrible tragedy, bloody tragedy of my dad's death. And you do exactly what Debbie said. You start to cycle through those thoughts. And I'm not going to get into my Twitter debate, although, again, I've not been on Twitter since I really got into this debate. But that's where avoidance doesn't help. But however, would you guys, Heather, you're big into grounding techniques. Would y'all think that a grounding technique for sleep would be beneficial?
Oh, yes. I use visualization a lot of times.
How do you do that?
I will lay there, and of course, the first thing with CPAP is I love taking some deep breaths.
yes.
I love taking the deep breaths, but then I'll picture just a very favorite place, and I'll notice all the details. Of course, I love the
Ah.
beach, so I'll
Yeah.
notice the sky and the clouds, and if it's sunset, if it's midday, the smell of the salty air. I feel the cool air on my skin, or the sun on my skin. And I just use my imagination with my five senses fully.
And that helps you do what?
It helps me relax. And as I'm doing that, without realizing it, I fall asleep.
Ah. And then what do you do with the trauma?
Since I've done this and since I've had the CPAP machine, I don't think about it as much. I don't have as much of the re-experiencing at night.
That's
It's pretty
that's
neat.
so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, and I have wondered, I don't know, I'm just kind of spitballing this out
Yeah.
there. I have wondered, the CPAP machine helps you breathe deep when you're breathing shallow. And I'm wondering if part of what was going on before is you have the re-experiencing, so you're breathing shallow, and it just feeds itself. And with breathing properly at night, if there's less
Well, it most certainly does,
re-experiencing.
because hypoxia the brain is going to result in anxiety, and the anxiety is there to call your attention to something. I call it the brain's WIT system, W-I-T, the WIT system, the what is this? Your brain is a bit like the kid in the back seat of a vehicle on a long journey, where it's asking, what is this, 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 are we there yet, are we there yet, are we there yet? I mean, the
Yes.
brain does that. And so if you're hypoxic, then your brain is asking, what is this, what is this, what is this? And there are very few ways for your brain to perceive lack of oxygen other than as a crisis that is threatening to you. And so it's going to keep waking you up.
Makes sense.
And it's going to keep waking you up so that you'll, you know, it's the thing they do in movies when you think somebody's dead.
Yes.
And they're laying
Come
there.
back.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, are they dead? No, they're not dead. Are they dead? Well, crap's the main character. Are they dead? And then, yeah. And it's what the brain does. It's the wit system. And the brain is going to keep on doing that until you address it in some way. And that's not a bad thing, but when it comes to sleep, it can be. Because what have you guys heard as clinicians? Prolonged, chronic years of insufficient sleep can do for you.
Oh, my goodness.
I think it opens you up to a lot of more of the, oh goodness, I'm trying, like neurodegenerative diseases.
Well, yes, cognitive decline. I think the research is clear that chronic, and I want to make a differentiation here. Humans tend to underestimate the amount of sleep they get. People will think, and I'll just pick out a number, they only got 4 hours of sleep. But then in monitoring, they got, I don't know, 40% more sleep than that.
That's true.
There are different dips and levels of sleeping, and if you're well, I'll get on camera here. If you're way up here and you've actually been asleep for some time, and we wake you up, you might actually claim that you were never asleep. I had this discussion with my wife yesterday. She just had hand surgery. Thank you. She's feeling pretty good, but you know it's Nurse Heath here. And I said, "Wow, you took a big long nap yesterday." And she said, or today, which was yesterday. She said, "Well, I tried." And I said, "Well, I don't know. You seem like you were snoozing pretty good." You see, she didn't realize when the sound of me coming in the room, I'm trying to tiptoe, but maybe I'm kind of clunking around. I don't know it. She didn't realize that she was asleep. So one of the things that can actually make sleep worse is catastrophizing not sleeping as much as you prefer.
Definitely.
Yes.
And thinking things like, well, I didn't sleep well last night. Today is going to suck. I'm not going to be able to function. And Heather actually created this little meme, and we put it on a coffee mug. It's called damn good coffee.
Yeah.
What does that stand for?
Deceptive anxiety misconception.
Yeah, exactly. It's a damn cognition, deceptive anxiety misconception, because you're thinking that the presence of anxiety after a night of not sleeping well is that something is bad for you. Now, would we recommend only sleeping 2 to 3 hours? No, of course not. But just because you only slept 2-3 hours tonight doesn't mean that is bad for your physiology overall. You know, when it comes to sleep, at the end of your life, it's going to kind of be an average, and we're just looking for chronic conditions. I think people in our profession, as well as our physician colleagues, are kind of too quick on the trigger to throw out a medication. And by the way, if you're on a sedative hypnotic, I used to do surveys of MERs, medical administration records, and we would look at things like this. And if you're in a long-term care facility, there's actually regulations where physicians can legally, or I shouldn't say, but by the regulations, only administer you a sedative hypnotic for a certain period of time. Because after 7 to 10 days, it becomes known as a placebo side effects. And none of these medications were ever meant on label to be used for years, and certainly not decades. And we would look to physicians and ask, well, why had they not had a dose reduction? And, well, because it won't work. Well, how do you know it won't work unless you try it? And you've demonstrated no dose reduction failures, and that's used to med outside of regulations for those under, well, it's called OBRA, the Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act of, what was it, 88 or something like that. But for you consumers that aren't in long-term care facilities, you should still realize that these sedative hypnotics, after a period of time, it's not really the medication putting you to sleep, but the placebo effect. As a matter of fact, we would actually have our staff administer a magical medication for sleep and you guys know it's called Obacalp, Obecalp.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I remember this one.
And Obacalp, man, if you gave people Obacalp, they would knock them out. I'm telling you, it was the next best thing to a 3-pound hammer. You go to sleep. But it was also good for constipation. It was good for anxiety. It worked magic with anxiety. It was good for depression. It was good for all kinds of things. And it is simply placebo spelled backward. So a lot of what goes on with sleep is mediated by how we decide to think about sleep, which brings us to the app, which we're again, not affiliates or anything. We just think it.
We do have
may
a
be
comment actually too, if you don't mind.
Huh?
We do have a comment
Yes.
on here. Yeah.
Yes.
So Brandon says, I have no problem getting my body to shut down, but a lot of times my mind won't slow down.
Oh yes, mine too. I mean.
Same.
That's why I keep a pad beside my bed. It's the strangest thing. And Brandy, you may try this. This is actually called the Zeigarnik effect. And you know it is when you leave the house, you get to thinking, gosh, did I turn off the toaster, the dishwasher? Did I lock the door? The brain likes to keep things on its radar as open loops until you close the loop. And a way I found that I can do that is not my phone, because there's reasons not to have a screen in your face, blue light, the sky's blue. When are we usually awake? We're usually awake when the sky's blue. Blue light can direct the brain for wakefulness, and that's generally not a good idea. I try to get rid of screens in my own life about 90 minutes before bedtime, and I have this whole sleep hygiene directed bedtime routine. But back to Brandon's point, I will write down on my pad a thought, because see, then, gosh, what was in the Harry Potter movies, the memory sieve or something,
really take the memories
and
out.
he would pull that long boogery snot looking thing out of his head. That's what I thought when I saw it. It looks like a big string of snot attached to a booger. And I guess I work with kids too much sometimes, but pull it out of his head and put it in the sieve, Well, I think that has some foundation, some good foundation in how the brain works, because it kind of honors the brain's Zeigarnik effect phenomenon, which is your brain is going to keep, data points on the radar until you do something with it. And if it takes getting up out of bed in a low light, I want to emphasize that, a low light environment, which hopefully is not blue light. Get rid of the TVs in your bedroom, put the cell phone across the room so you won't keep looking at it. And in a low light environment, just take a yellow pad, and write these things down. Then you can take care of them tomorrow. It's like it's not Gandalf. Who's the? I'm sorry. I love Harry Potter. I should know all the names. Dumbledore. There you go. Actually, Gandalf was asked to be Dumbledore, and he turned it down after Richard Harris died. But you can put it on a pad of paper. Other comments there, and we appreciate comments. You can back channel us, send us a message. But this is on the app that talks about thinking about sleep, and this is why it's called the CBT-I app. I have a colleague out in Atlanta. This is his gig, and I think it's just fascinating. But it asks you questions like, I need 8 hours of sleep to feel refreshed and function well during the day. It's asked me to, when I don't get the proper amount of sleep on a given night, I need to catch up the next day by napping, and it asks to rate it from 0 to 10. I'm concerned that chronic insomnia may have serious consequences to my physical health. And this is on a 0 to 10 scale with a little thermometer. I think it's pretty well done. But all it's talking about here are cognitions to demonstrate how what you decide to think about sleep can keep you awake. And if you are catastrophizing, thinking that this lack of sleep is going to kill me, I'll wake up tired, it's going to kill me, I must not be tired. What did Albert Ellis say about must this, must be that way? Well, he called it, of course, Kitty's plug your ears, he called it masturbating. And when you're catastrophizing sleep, you're really creating more insomnia. instead of thinking accurately. I'm more tired than I prefer, but look what I can do. Look what I can do. And view it as a Mufasa challenge. Is that a challenge? And then you can go about your day. And back to what Heather labeled the deceptive anxiety misconception is that why do we have more anxiety when we get less sleep? The reason we have more anxiety when we have less sleep, it is your body trying to elevate your performance and help you maintain a level of performance on less resources, sleep being the resource. That does not make it a catastrophe. That does not mean that anxiety the next day after not getting a whole lot of sleep is bad for you. You can decide to decatastrophize the anxiety as jet fuel in your stream, in your bloodstream, to help you perform, and then the next night maybe you'll get better sleep. By the way, one of the worst things you can do also when you're not sleeping well is to take naps during the day. To go to bed earlier and all that. No, your brain wants a pattern. Decide what time is bedtime. Stay faithful to that. Decide what time is wake-up time. Stay faithful to that. I drink lots of coffee, but I don't have sleep problems. But if I did, I would cut out the caffeine. I typically don't drink coffee within about 8 hours of sleeping, but that depends on your metabolism. In some people's bodies, they metabolize caffeine more rapidly, meaning they get rid of it. And in others, they don't. They hold on to that a long time, and that can keep you awake at night. What are some things that y'all find help people with sleeping? You mentioned mindfulness, Debbie.
Yeah, I think being mindful. Another thing, too, that I'll suggest, that's something that I do myself, too, at night. I'll think a lot about, when I think about the day, I'll just think about something I'm thankful for the day. In other words, set a good mindset.
Yeah, we have a term, targets for gratefulness, and
Yes.
we recommend that before bedtime. Come up with a list of things to keep on your mind. A target, TFG, target for gratefulness. A real quick thing about mindfulness, lest people misperceive what mindfulness is. Mindfulness is never to stop something, and it's really not to start something either. It is not to stop anxiety. It is not to start relaxation. It is simply being present in the moment. Now, I would recommend focusing on your breath, and my mantra for that is my brain is the train, my breath is the track, my breath keeps my brain on track. My brain is the train. My breath is the track. Squirrel! Well, that's okay. My brain is the train. My breath is the track. Spider! There really was a spider about this big. I kid you not. It's not a fish story. Right over there, and I helped him out the door because I don't like to kill things if I don't have to. And he's fluttering around there. But you see a spider, you see a squirrel. And often people think that mindfulness is to not be distracted. And think about that. If you're telling yourself that during mindfulness being distracted is a problem or catastrophe, you're going to tell your brain to leverage resources to help you escape.
Right.
Yeah.
You will be creating that, which you're saying is a problem. Therefore, your brain going to the squirrel or the spider it's okay. It's okay.
Well, that's where. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, that's where I advise clients with with grounding as well. Is if you have nightmares, and they're the kind that are nightmares from like flashbacks or something, like stuff that happened in the past. When you wake up, I always use grounding techniques to kind of bring myself back to the present. That you're not there, you're not in danger. I have a pillow it's very cold to the touch. It's really cool. I love it. But
Keep in the refrigerator?
No, it just I guess it's whatever is covering it. It's memory foam,
Cool.
but it's got this really slick
Yeah, I
covering.
love pillows.
And it's really cool. So I use it. I have it right by where I can reach it real quick because I have nightmares. And so but it helps me and I've had clients tell me it's helped them too, where I I use it to touch it, and it kind of is like a sensation that I'm like, okay, this is cold. It's something different.
Oh,
it brings me
tactile
back.
thing.
Yeah, it brings me back to.
But I
this
want
is
to
the present.
point out something that Heather just said that I think is so very important, and that is the cognitive component of grounding.
Mm-hmm.
And you just said it. You said, I'm reminding myself, I'm not there, I'm here.
Right.
I'm not in danger, I'm safe.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's not getting rid of anything. That's not avoiding anything.
No.
That's a mental reset. That is a cognitive restructuring.
Mm-hmm.
It's the basic machinery of what we four do, which is actual cognitive behavioral therapy. And I want to say that because a lot of people say they do it and they don't.
Mm-hmm.
They don't follow the mechanics of it. Other quick tips before we get off of the Clubhouse support group for the day, and we'll do this again every Tuesday, 12 o'clock. We try to cycle amongst the social media platforms, just kind of mix it up because we have different folks on different platforms, and we just like to provide service where we can. But any other helpful tips?
Yeah, so when you were talking about writing stuff down, this is something that I try to do too. Not only writing it down, but also asking myself, realistically, is this something that I can change right now? So if I have a phone call I need to make tomorrow, or if I need to talk to somebody tomorrow, is this something I can do right now? If not, I'm going to put it on my list, and it's tomorrow's problem. I don't need to focus on it right now.
That's wonderful. And a tool for that that you can look up, you can Google, is the Eisenhower Matrix. There's category 1, 2, 3, and 4. Category 1 is urgent and important. Category 2 is not urgent but important. Category 3 is what? It is urgent but not important. And category 4 is neither urgent nor important. You let those things go. And it's good to kind of have those different file cabinets in your brain. Thank you guys for joining us. Catch us next time. We have a lot of videos on our YouTube channel. You're welcome to follow. We really do this for a very specific audience. We realize not everybody's our customer, but we have patients and clients that request this information from us, and we just thought that we would share it out. If you're finding value in it, let us know. If you have a comment or complaint, yeah, you can share that too. Be nice in the comments, and let us know if there's anything, any way that we could be of service to you with a psychological topic, and we'll try to break it down the best we can live at our next Clubhouse. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Bye.